On a Thursday night we shot in the rain, and on a Friday night we shot in the cold. By Saturday, I had to edit the photos and build the music from scratch. And by Tuesday, 2 finished videos. That's 5 days total. No excuses, just a deadline. This was a social campaign for a local West Auckland brand, Scudrat, and this is how it all came together. I want to break this down step by step, how I got the photos, built the music, and then got the videos all together. Let's start with the shoot, because if we didn't get these first 2 nights, nothing would have happened. You don't get second chances when the entire project is riding on 2 shoots. Here's exactly how I prepped to make sure we nailed it. The main idea for the shoot was a gritty, dark look. So when I'm thinking about that, I was looking for locations where I was thinking concrete, wire, metallic, and all that kind of style. So on the Thursday night, I was with Clean, and then on the Friday night, I was with JD. So the shoot was quite run and gun. I had the general idea of the locations I wanted to go to, but as we got there, we would walk around and find the shots. If we're driving past anything that we thought were cool, we'd pull over and quickly grab something. So for the video side of the gear, I was using my Sony a7S III with the Tamron 20mm 2.8, and I was running that on a Weeble S gimbal. For the photo side of things, I was using my Godox V1 flash, plus I'd swap out the 20mm to the 35 to 150 by Tamron, just depending on what kind of look or I was trying to punch in from far away. So I had the flash set up on TTL mode, and I'd get the models to move, and I'd just rotate around them, taking photos and firing away. Some of the spots we were in were quite dark, so I would just use the flashlight on my phone to help the autofocus out a bit, but then the flash would overpower it so you wouldn't even notice it. Editing the photos was quite simple. The flash really did all the work, and it was just a slight exposure tweak here and there to get them all leveled out. With the photos locked in now, it's time to give the project a heartbeat, the music. What's a video without a great soundtrack? Let's hop into Ableton and I'll show you how I made the beat. I'm just going to start here and I'll show you my master chain, real blanket basic. First going into Pro Owl, just adjusting the gain level to match the beats to get the desired luffs. Then I'd go into Ozone, firstly into Imager, had the sub all the way at -100, and then adjusted the mids and the highs all to just give it a bit more width. Into Dynamics, it's all pretty relative. I just make sure I always click the auto gain on it, so after it all sounds the same. Just little tweaks in here, nothing crazy. And then I was running into the maximizer, -2 on the ceiling, -2 threshold, and 0.2 character. Running in the IV Modern, it's kind of my go-to favorite in Ozone. Then I just use span, so when the beat's playing, I can see my sides and my mids and what's going on there. And then alongside that, I always use U-lean just to check out how many luffs I'm hitting. So here with beat 1, I actually had Pro Owl and I was pushing it a little bit, just so I hit around -5. So Hunter from Scudrat sent me through an EP that he's using on his website, quite synthy and ethereal. So I took this to sample and cut it down for the main beat. So this is just a section that I took off it, and I just cut it so it fit the BPM that I was looking for. Real simple. So processing the sample, I just put a compressor on it, just doing a little bit, a bit of EQ, taking out the sub in it because I didn't want that to clash with the 808. Pushed the left here a bit because it just sounded, I just needed a bit more balancing here and here, and working the mids. At the end of this, one thing I love doing to transition out of the beat is doing a swell on the reverb. So you can just see here I had it coming up. So it just has a nice soft tail, so when the beat loops, it's real smooth. The next thing, I'll just do the 808. That's the next driving thing of this beat. I'm just going to turn off the side chain so it doesn't click so bad. So it's a real simple beat, just adding a little bit to the end to give it a bit more variation in between the long notes. And then processing for this, I just was using a Spins 808, real simple, push the soft clipper a bit of decapitator. This is one of my real favorite plugins for distortion. I just used the mid driver preset and then I gave it a little tweak. Then running into a Pro Q, took the sides out of the sub Took the high end out of the mids. I just wanted this 808 to sit in the lower end of the spectrum. Then I had it running into an Ableton compressor, which I was using as sidechain from the kick, and then just auto filter. So this auto filter here was just to match the tail end of the reverb swell on the main sample, just so they match clearly, so you can see it here. Other than that, just a real nice simple snare. Kind of has a little bit of a clap to it. I just ran Pro Q, gave it some mids, and Transient Shaper. I really rate the KHS suite. They have so many great plugins, and it's for free. So then I had that running just into a soft clipper, so it was just flattening it a bit. Next was the kick. Real punchy kick I was using. Same thing, running it into a Transient Shaper, and then into a soft clipper, pushing it a bit. It's really helping with the clicks. Took the sides out of the mids. A little bit of tweaking here, and then finally just into a soft clipper to flatten it all out. With the hats I processed them all together, just Transient Shaper, soft clipper, compressor just to bring all the levels down, and then just a real simple EQ, just a little tweaks in here and there. Just the high end was a bit hot for me, and then just a little bit in the mids. A favourite thing I've recently been doing with my hats is using 2 different samples to really give a good shuffle to it. So one's a bit shorter, one's a bit longer. It just helps drive the beat. And on the one, I just had a little ride, little fills here, just to add groove to the hats. With these extra little hi-hats, I'm just spacing them out so it's not too often, so it just gives the beat room to breathe. And pretty much that's the first beat done. It was the most simple one out of these 2. And yeah, so this is the final beat. And I use very similar techniques for the beat too. Here's the main sample, which is very ethereal. So you can see here, I just found little snippets here, here, and over here. And that's how I cut up the beat to make it my own sample. So it's basically that repeating throughout the whole beat. But then on the second bar, just adding a little bit of variation so it's not the same thing throughout. On the intro, I found the sample. So one thing I did here, I gated it a bit. I gave it an auto filter so it sweeps in. You can see here just with the vintage reverb on it, so as that comes in, it just meshes well into the beat. Another thing I did here is I added a bit more spice. This is quite a hectic little patch that I got going on. I put an auto filter on the end and I just filtered it in throughout, and then I brought it a bit higher in the end. So it's kind of introduces the sound and doesn't hit you in the ears and kind of freak you out a bit. So as well in the intro, I just used these parts of the sample as little swells just to add a bit more texture. And just an impact on the intro too. It's all about adding little things in the background that add texture. Another thing I did here was with a fill, just to introduce it when the one hits. And as well, I literally soft clipped it and I added a reverb swell. This reverb swell, when I did it, I was like, yeah, this is sick. So all it does is basically adds this kind of white noise to the background when the beat hits, and I really like it. It's just like real swells into it. As well, just a real simple snare. Real tonky. I like it. Go for the bass here. Just a serum patch. You see here, I automated the quarter time, so when it goes to this octave up, it really swells into it. And then as well, on the last one, this beat, I just changed the structure of it so it's not hitting on the ones, just to add a bit more variation. And then as well on the kick here, this is just a real solid kick. Just so transient shaping it again, soft clipping, and then a bit of EQ. Always taking the sides out of the low end. Same with the hats here, processed it on the same group channel. Real simple ones here, but use the same technique of using 2 different samples on the main hat. So one's a bit more shakery and one's a bit sharper. And then as well, overall, just adding in hits on the one, bit of perks. This beat was quite crazy already, so I just let the hats kind of sit in their own zone. Just real basic. And yeah, that's pretty much the beat itself. The music was in place, the foundation is now ready. Now came the hardest part, which is getting the 2 edits together. So on the Sunday, the clock was ticking and I had to pump out at least 1 edit. So the first edit I did was this one with clean, and this video was run as an ad to show the collection was dropping. So I'll just go in through and I'm just going to highlight my favorite little pieces that I did here within this edit. So a lot of these red ones here are After Effects compositions where I did my speed ramps. With these After Effects compositions, for me to line them up right, all I did was drag and drop an adjustment layer. Let's say I wanted it this long. And what I'd do is I'd highlight both of my clips, then I'd go replace with After Effects composition. That would pull me over into After Effects now. So now I've got my clip here in After Effects. You can see I've got this adjustment layer. So this is literally telling me how long I want my clip to be. So you can see here I've got my adjustment layer, which is my total length that I want for my clip. And now I'm going to jump onto my clip itself. I'm going to hit P, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to keyframe. So I have my model in the middle of my screen. So I'm going to hit here, hit the keyframe. I'm just going to scroll through to my points that matter the most. So I want it to finish on this jacket here, show it off, so dead center that. I'm going to go to the end here. You can see it falls off a bit here. Pull it over, and then it kind of falls off to the left there a bit, so bring it back the other way. So then if I scroll through, it looks relatively very centered. As well, another thing I know I can do, I'm going to hit the scale button. I'm just going to drop that back a bit. 91 is usually where you're going to have enough so you don't have black bars on the top and bottom if you're shooting horizontally. After that, just going to watch it through. Okay, it looks good and smooth. So now I'm going to hit Option Command T. It's going to bring up time remap. What I'm going to do here, hit a keyframe at the start, the keyframe at the end. Now I'm going to scroll through and find where I want to stop, and it's going to be somewhere around here. So I want it to, just as his hands come up, I want that the movement in the shot. So from here to here, boom. So actually a bit shorter. I'm just comparing it here to the adjustment layer. Then what I'm going to do, grab these, pull them in to here. If I hold shift, it will lock automatically. I'm going to bring that down. Now you can see it's real janky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the time remap. I'm going to hit the graph editor here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to make sure that it's an edit speed graph. Then I'm going to grab this, pull it down. I'm going to hold shift and it'll keep it in line. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to ramp it a bit more. Same with this one here. Just going to pull it down. Same with the end one here. Then with this one here, I'm just going to pull this tab a bit so we get a bit more of a steeper curve. So it's quite buzzy right now. The final thing I'm going to do is add CC Force Motion Blur. Now that just smooths everything out. You see that the motion blur just added that much where it keeps it less busy. It's all red. I'm just going to scroll through, see where the clip ends. Where it ends is that I want the last frame still to have motion blur in it. So right there, hit C. I'm going to delete that. That's my clip in time to the gap I wanted. Then I could just drag and drop it my timeline. I'm just showing you this so if you wanted to use this technique, you can easily get it lined up in your edit. Other things I've done within this is, as I was saying in the photo, I'd just walk around and I'd spam the shutter so I could get this section where I'd have different photos of Greg walking. So it's a great transition into a different location using this. As well, it just had some film burns and a bit of grain on top just to give it a bit more texture. As you can see here, this last clip, there's actually brake lights on Greg, so there's a bit of red there. So the red kind of lined up with the film burn that goes there. Other things within this is, of course, adding whooshes and sound effects to it. It just brings the production up that much more. So yeah, this is the timeline of the clean, and I'll show you the final now. Here's a second video with JD. This one came out great. To start off with, I just had clips here in black and white, quick and flash, so then when the beat drops, it comes into the color. First of all, had this spinning shot. And what I used here is adjustment layer with flashes on them. So all it is just exposures, and over 2 frames, goes from 0 to 4. And then to match that, I just had some sound effects. So the first one here doesn't have a sound effect because it's hitting on the beat. And then the second one here is a camera flash, and the third one a camera flash too. It just helped transition between the 2 clips of JD sending the camera to him catching it. Second one here, just a quick zoom in on the t-shirt with the rat, added this monster sound, really like that. This one here, I really played with the sound effects. This is like a stretching rubber sound as JD adjusts the shirt. So in this next section here, lots of motion. So then I took it down and I took it into a longer clip, which is a bit slower, where on the gimbal I'm panning around him and slowly revealing him. As well here, this is an easy one to do. I actually didn't flip the video itself. The raw clip of me is actually just rotating fully around JD, getting different angles. So then when I came back on the other side, I could cut it to that. Real simple one here as well. Literally just jumping from the same clip to a little bit later, just to add a bit of variation on the beat. This one here, quite important, is starting on the side bag that you could get. Just showing it off. This one here is pretty cool. It's a quick zoom past JD with the sky tail in the background. And then finally, cool thing I did here, because this is the second video for the campaign, and was just an out now. So basically what I did here is I used a Gaussian blur on the background, and I put quite a bit, 240. And I changed the blur dimensions to vertical, so if this was the normal, it's quite glowy, but for vertical here, it kind of adds a different element. And compared to horizontal and vertical, I like what the look of vertical was. And just an out now with JD in the background, his silhouette there. You can see here in my timeline, there's quite a bit of sound effects in between each, just to give a bit more variation in the edit. And yeah, here's the final video with JD. In less than a week, we went from night shoots to photos to music to 2 final videos. The turnaround was quick, but that's what happens when you lock in, trust the process, and just get it done. I also really want to thank my models. JD and Clean really pulled through with some awesome fits and ended up killing it. Both of them had never done anything like this, and this was just me directing on the fly. And as well, a special thank you to Hunter from Scudrat for trusting me through this process. Without these guys here, this wouldn't have turned out as well as it did. Yeah, catch you in the next one.